welcome to Travelogue. I'm Li Changying. Today we're going to explore a very special place in southern China. It's one of the first points in the country to be exposed to other cultures, and now its name is associated with slot machines and roulette. Yes, it's Macau. But as you soon will discover, gambling would be too small a word to describe a place like this. It all began in the mid-16th century when Portuguese seafarers stumbled across a great port linking the trade routes to China, Japan, India, and the Western Hemisphere. The Macau you see now is definitely different from what the first batch of Portuguese saw 500 years ago. It has evolved from a couple of villages and markets into a popular travel destination. However, you can see exotic traces of the Portuguese everywhere in Macau. From the azure tiled street signs to the colonial architecture to the biracial Macaunese. At the same time, the locals still maintain Chinese traditions that have been quietly merging with the Western influences. This lasting legacy means it's a great place to see how the West and East can and have intersected. There are something like 20 churches and dozens of different temples in Macau, but the region takes up just 23 square kilometers. This was where the Portuguese seafarers landed some 5 centuries ago. They were told the name of the place was Macau, so the Portuguese decided to call this place Macau. But in reality, Macau was the name for the temple over there, the Ama Temple, where the local people worship the goddess of Ama. So, you could well say the temple is older than Macau itself. Ama is the goddess of the sea, and statues of her are a regular sight in coastal areas. Here, she looks out on the horizon as she has done for centuries. Every year on the 23rd day of the third lunar moon, the locals hold a big celebration in her honor. The Ama Temple is the most popular in Macau. It's obvious when you look at the amount of incense being offered. The people use a special kind of incense that burns for up to 2 weeks. You can pay your own respects if you want. Write the names of your family on a piece of red paper and hang it up with the incense. The temple is also a good place to find out more about your future.
This is the fortune telling. You close the hand, drop this way down here. This one, good one. You will make a fortune in the casino. Fortune telling, fortune. 呢個好嘢喂，呢個啊，星座嘅星飛啊，你懂啦嘛？呢個新加坡來都沒問題。Okay, well, this one you speak French, comme ci comme ça. 50-50.
For a more detailed look into your future, there's the fortune-telling sticks. Shake the container until one of the sticks falls out. The temple keeper interprets it for you for 10 yuan. Telling fortunes and selling incense are two of their main sources of income. In the 16th century, the power of Ama extended to cover those seafarers from the other side of the world. They also brought their own beliefs and built shrines to their own faith. One of the churches, well, the ruins of it, has become the hallmark of Macau. This is the remaining facade of St. Paul's Cathedral, dating back to the early 1600s. People once said it was second in grandeur only to St. Peter's in Rome. It is also the site of the first Western-style university in the Far East. The cathedral was all but destroyed by fire during a disastrous typhoon in early 19th century. One of the many churches that did survive and is much alive today is St. Dominic's. It dates from the early 17th century. It has an impressive collection of saintly effigies carved from ivory and wood and is home to the image of Our Lady Fatima. The image is paraded around the streets during the annual Fatima festival. But St. Dominic's also has a violently dramatic past. In 1644, a military officer who supported the Spanish against the Portuguese was murdered at the altar during Mass. There are other, more modest, but equally graceful churches. This is the chapel of Our Lady of Gia. Legend has it that during the Dutch invasion of 1622, the image of the Virgin left the chapel and held out her robe to deflect the enemy's bullets. The present chapel dates from 1637. These murals were discovered during some recent renovations. You can see the Chinese influence in the patterns of what appeared to be peonies, a popular flower in China. Standing alongside the chapel is China's oldest lighthouse. This hilltop, called the Gia Hill, is China's highest point and the best place to keep an eye out for either an enemy or a typhoon. You know what are these? These are called Cold of Storms. This is number 8, and this is number 9, and this is number 10. And when this is up, people don't go to work, children don't go to school, and you are advised to stay at somewhere safe. In Macau, where the East meets the West, people carefully preserve every bit of their history. In this small region, there are 12 museums, and with 25 Macau Bodega, you can buy a museum pass, which covers half of them. This museum gives you a glimpse of how people here took the comforts from both the East and West. There's a living room, dining room, and kitchen on the first floor, and bedrooms and a bathroom upstairs. The layout of the whole building follows the Western tradition, while there is a distinctively Oriental influence in the furnishing. Much of the furniture has been donated by the locals. The museum's 5 buildings were erected around the turn of the century. Other things on display include traditional costumes from the different parts of Portugal. There are a dozen museums devoted to different themes. They give insights into everything from how people used to live to sacred art to history. But I had a need for speed and headed for the Macau Grand Prix Museum. For the best part of 15 years, the Macau Grand Prix has been a stepping stone to Formula One for many top drivers. All the machines are the real thing. They've all been steered to victory in Macau. The legendary artist Senna wore this outfit and drove this car when he won the championship in 1983. 7 years later, Michael Schumacher burned around the circuit and this machine to become champion. The Grand Prix is a Formula 3 event and held every November. The circuit runs for 6 kilometers around the picturesque streets and is considered one of the most challenging international courses. At that time of year, the pace of the city accelerates and you find the place turned into a confusing commotion of excitement. Just across the hall from the Grand Prix Museum is something a little more sedate, the Wine Museum. There are hundreds of wines on show here, all from Portugal, the oldest being a bottle of 1815 Porto. I'm not sure how it would go now with a nice steak. And remember to check out these posters. Each one stands for one famous winery. You can also get a feel for a real cellar and see how people use things like this distiller to make wine. Okay, one thing good in this museum is that you can try a glass of wine for free. Of course, it's not completely free. It's covered in the entrance fee. But anyway, but what's his name again?
Mural.
Mural. Okay, thank you. It's wonderful. For a night in Macau, everybody knows where to head. The casinos. Macau is often described as the Monte Carlo or Las Vegas of the Far East, and the flamboyant Lisboa Hotel Casino is the most popular attraction. Here, the cards are dealt 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you haven't perfected your poker face, you can test your luck in a variety of different games. You don't have to pay to get in, but men do have to wear long trousers. There's definitely no shorts allowed in here. Some say Macau's connection with gambling began when it went into decline as a port. Hong Kong drew much of the shipping business away. To boost the economy, the Macau authorities legalized gambling in late 19th century. If you are ready to move on from the casinos but still feeling lucky, there's a few other places to have a punt. Horse racing is another highlight of Macau's nightlife, and there's no entrance fee, so you can come and just watch, even you don't bet on anything. The horses are paraded before each round, and people eye the gallopers up for size before laying that all-important bet. The betting process is too complex to explain in a second, but there is a service booth to help you fill out the slips. Again, like the casinos, there is a dress code. Leave the shorts at home if you are a man. There's a price to pay for everything. The thrill of gamble eventually leads many people to the pawn shops. Just like the casinos, many of them open around the clock. You can find most of them near the Lisboa Hotel, and in a sense, it's an ideal place to shop for some jewelry or expensive watches. The price tags all seem really daunting. Don't worry, the real figure is always negotiable. Away from the encore spectacle are the Mediterranean squares and quiet old cobbled streets of the old city. You never know what you'll come across wandering in these old narrow alleyways in the old district of Macau. It's that special smell, it's so good.
哎，亮，小姐，哎，亮，我们呢？啊，看看我们杏仁饼，我们杏仁饼呢比较出名，对，把那个狙击出来。
It turns out to be cakes made with almond powder.
是啊，这个我们那个很多人买的那个杏仁饼特别喜欢吃，啊，真材实料，做的不错的，你看这边里面是做的，
真做的。
对啊，对。
Wow, barbecued beef. 哎，老板，哦，谢谢。The shops offer exotic taste sensations that are supposed to be good for your health. This is dried fish air bladder, the part that helps the fish move up and down in the water. It's usually cooked up in a soup as a kind of health tonic. Macau is a foodie's paradise. This must be delicious. The local specialties are mostly seafood. But one thing special is that they have this African chicken. How can you have African chicken in Macau? Let's find out. Henry, the owner of the restaurant, cooked the dish for us in an obviously Chinese way. The chicken is cooked with garlic, curry, coconut, peanut butter, and lastly, tomato paste. This melting pot of Eastern and Western cultures means the cuisine has absorbed the flavors of both worlds. Other famous dishes include curry crab, chili prawn, and Portuguese fried rice. The list goes on. Henry, why is this called African chicken?
Oh, because in East Africa, in Mozambique, one place they call belongs to the Portuguese colony. It was Portuguese colony in Mozambique, in East Africa. So the recipe is from the East Africa, Mozambique. That's why we call it African chicken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do people in Africa still eat like this?
Yeah.
I see.
They still eat like this. They in Africa, some of them they call the chicken piri piri.
Chicken piri piri.
Yeah.
Macau has so much to offer the gourmet. Apart from authentic Cantonese dim sum and Portuguese specialties, there's any number of dishes from India, Thailand, Korea, Brazil, Japan, and Malaysia. Amid the diversity, the Macaonese still maintain the culinary traditions they share with the rest of China. For example, my trip coincided with preparations for the annual Dragon Boat Festival, which takes place either in May or June. It's a time when every family eats zongzi and offers it to the gods. You can tell what's inside by the different wrappings. Interestingly, they hang all these zongzi outdoors. The boss explained it's because of the wet climate. The zongzi keep better when they're caressed by the cooling breezes. Here comes my bus. Now we are going to visit the less famous parts of Macau, Sanzai 和鹿环岛, Taipa and Kolo Wan Islands. It'll be less than half an hour drive. The two islands are linked to the Macau Peninsula by bridges. Less than 10% of Macau's residents live on these two small isles, and the large protected wetlands harbor more than 100 kinds of birds. This is Macau's real wild side. The feel here is that of a small, quiet, laid-back seaside town, with traces of Chinese and Portuguese here and there. This one-room building is Sanpo Temple, dedicated to the third sister of Ama, the powerful goddess in charge of the sea. Take a few steps in any direction and you'll come across a temple or a church. Many of the small shops also have simple shrines with wooden plaques. This is a tribute to the neighborhood god called Tu Di Shen. Each god has its own realm. This one is dedicated to the god of medicine. Hua Tuo was a renowned doctor who lived more than 1,000 of years ago in central China. People worship him for his power to cure and heal. They offer incense all the time, and not just when one of their family falls ill. Modern life has diluted much of the past, but somehow some things managed to survive, like this boat workshop. It surprises me to find there are still people using boats like this, when there are any number of synthetic alternatives. It's a fishing boat, and it'll take the team at least 1 month to finish it. A local expatriate has an interesting metaphor about Macau. He said that if you compare Macau to a woman, the place is not that kind of fiery girl who catches your eye at the first instance, but the more reserved kind whose beauty sinks in slowly but lasts longer. I find Macau a lovely, tiny place with a relaxed atmosphere, and you can definitely have a good time here without entering the casinos. The place serves up a perfect blend of Eastern and Western cultures. That's all for today's travelogue. I'm Liu Changying. I'll see you sometime soon.